the 125th episode of CloudFocus Weekly on this Valentine's Day. This episode is titled Choo-Choo-Choose Me. CloudFocus Weekly is sponsored by Arkus, Cloud Community Experts. I'm your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me is my special Valentine, Justin Edelstein. Justin, how are you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm a little taken aback by me being your Valentine. But you're wearing your red shirt.
I am wearing
my
red shirt.
Valentine's shirt.
Yes.
It's very flashy.
It's very flashy.
Sassy.
So when we started this, you said, I don't understand the title.
No.
So you must not be a Simpsons fan.
Not really.
Okay, because do you know Ralph Wiggum?
Yes.
And his son. Ralph is the son. He's kind of
whatever, the chief, right?
Yeah, but Ralph is the son. He's Chief Wiggum's son. And there's an episode where he is trying to court Lisa Simpson.
Isn't he always trying to court
Lisa
Simpson?
Is. But so it's a Valentine's Day episode where he doesn't have a Valentine's Day. She feels sorry for him, and so she writes a card that it's like one of those stupid Valentine's cards that says, "I choose you," and has a
train,
a ticket of a train.
Oh,
and it's one of these things. It's like, if you're a Simpsons fan, it's a huge one. So anyway, it's Valentine's Day.
Thanks.
So choose me.
You just chose me.
Did you choose me?
No,
I did.
I didn't choose you.
Well, I did choose the agenda.
Oh, you did
good.
choose the agenda.
We have a blog post by you about how Salesforce developers can make a Salesforce admin's life easier.
Wow.
And we
As
have
Miss Piggy would
how Mark Benioff is choosing some Yammer employees. And then we have here's my question. What does Salesforce, StarTrek, and Steve Jobs have in common? We'll talk about it. And then we'll make our CloudFocus app pick of the week, and then we'll be out so we can all go celebrate this day of Valentine's. So first up, the blog post.
Yes.
Your blog post.
I wrote it.
You were next up on the blog post thing.
Calendar? Is that what we call it?
That's what. Yes.
Is that
but
what
mine
they're
just
called?
went somewhere else.
Calendars?
Yes. So explain your blog post and why you wrote it.
Wonder where your mind went.
Do we have to update the calendar? That's where it went.
Figured that's where it went, actually. So I wrote a post about how a custom Apex Visual Force developer, not like in the Salesforce spectrum, not a clicks developer who's developing custom objects and workflows and validation rules.
So not 401, 501.
Not 401, the 501 level of certification where you're writing Apex classes and triggers and you're writing Visual Force pages. How those people out there could make the clicks admin's life a lot easier and make them kind of empower them to do things that they wouldn't generally or normally be able to do by using some techniques when writing their code.
So basically it's best practices in Apex or Salesforce development to make your application easy for admins
to augment, change, manipulate, what have you. So I just wrote my 3 favorite ones. I'm sure there's so many more that are out there that can be utilized by developers to plug into their code. I'll just give my favorite one.
Sure.
Since there's 3, I'll make you go read the other 2. Field sets.
I knew you were going to say field sets.
Yeah, field sets are, oddly enough, still labeled as a beta feature.
It's been a while.
Spring 11.
Wow.
I had to look that up because I was like, this has been around at least a year. When was this?
Spring 11 is still
Spring
beta?
11, it's still beta.
Huh.
So field sets are the ability for an admin can create them. You basically on a given object or related objects. So if there's a parent-child relationship, you can actually pull fields from the child records as well.
Yep.
Group a bunch of fields into one set. So when you're a developer and you're writing a Visual Force page, you can reference the name of the field set, and it will just display all the fields that are in that set, as opposed to, hard coding in this field, 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 20 fields. You can just say field set.
Right.
And then an administrator can drag and drop fields into and out of the set and make them required inside of the set. So it can really, with very easy, almost like a page layout, drag and drop fields around on a Visualforce page, change the order of them, make them required, pull them right off the page, all sorts of fun stuff, without a developer having to touch the Visualforce page.
Very smart.
At all.
Yeah.
Very smart. Nice feature from Salesforce. And if you're doing a lot of like Visualforce pages that are forms where you're kind of like pilot testing or beta testing, or you want the same form to render differently based on other attributes, like maybe someone selects a pick list and then it pops 5 fields.
Right.
If they select one thing, and it pops 5 more fields if they select another thing, you can use field sets to pop those other things. And admins can control them till they're, till the end of days, or until it comes out of beta, or until they pull this feature out of the
feature.
But I can't imagine them pulling the feature. It's really good.
Very
and
cool.
It's very useful.
Yeah, I'm going to leave one untalked about because then someone has to go read the article.
Someone has to go read it.
Or the blog at blog.arksync.com.
Yeah, which one are you going to pick?
I'm going to pick the one that I've used in applications, and we've written an application for a 2 clients, this 2 individual clients, and same basic concept of an application, but wrote it we did it once, and then when we did it again, we learned from what they wanted in the first one, and so we built in the custom settings. So custom settings, the ability to, there's a thing in Salesforce, and I don't think it's in beta, but you can build and they're not really well, as a user when you go as an admin, as a simple old, I'm just an admin. Like when I go, I'm like, oh wait, am I supposed to manage or touch or whatever? Anyway, there are these things.
As an admin, you're supposed to
manage them, right? But you can edit them. It's a little strange. Anyway, but basically, you can build in settings that the Visualforce or Apex or whatever is looking to, so you can control some features and functions. So without having to go into the code and change, batch by this or batch by that, or you use the example of, how many on a batch size, how many things you want to show on a page. You build that into a custom setting.
Yeah, pagination as an example.
But we've done it for, huge programs that go over and batch over, millions of records or hundreds of thousands of records. And, how do you want to chunk them up? What do you want to include? And we have this all in custom settings. That means someone can go in and just, change the bit on it. And when it reruns, it runs and does a new set of things. So those 2 are really, really powerful, putting things in custom settings. Again, it takes more effort because you have to then, instead of just writing, the number 2, you have to then reference this thing and go build it and then have it referenced. And
the compliance locker uses custom setting.
Oh, nice. App Exchange plug.
App Exchange plug. So the settings screen on the compliance locker, we just put an interface on top of a custom setting.
Right.
You're filling in all the fields in the settings record.
Right.
All the settings screen is a pretty version of the values that you're plugging into the setting record.
And it's the right way to build apps. I mean, it's the way you should be doing it. I've seen apps that I actually was talking to a maker of an application, a big time application that's based on the Force.com platform, and they had started it a couple years ago, and they were saying, oh, we now have to migrate a lot of our stuff to using custom settings because we didn't do custom settings. They actually used objects.
Yeah.
So they did the old-fashioned way.
People used to use objects to reference and look up.
Right.
Now you can use settings to do the same thing.
So cool stuff. So go to blog.arksync.com. And
there's another one out there, so go find the other one.
Oh, yes, there's one more.
There's a third one.
And remember, you can comment on the below and using discuss, and or if that's what you want to do. So do that. Next up, we have an interesting story. This has actually been all over the Twitterverse. It's made news. It got to All Things D, so that's kind of that's a Wall Street Journal spin-off website. The headline is Salesforce CEO Benioff invites laid-off Yammer employees to work for him. So the story is that Microsoft bought Yammer, right? What was it, $1.2 billion, but now is doing what most companies, when they buy companies, do is we have 2 of the same people. you and you're the same. We need to get rid of one. And this is how they save money and how they, basically cover the costs of buying. So they're laying off some of the people who are original Yammer employees. So Benioff, in his funny way, tweets it out saying, "Attention this week, laid off Yammer employees. Salesforce is hiring. Please send me your CV." Interesting. So he uses CV. It's very British. To CEO@salesforce.com, which is kind of funny.
I don't know what a CV is.
Oh, it's the European. It's a resume.
Resume, but not resume.
It's
CV?
a resume, but it's called
Come on, what is it? Google.
I'm gonna do
Come
it.
on, Google.
Do it.
Come on, Google. Google. Dead air.
Yeah, I know, dead air on the air. No, I'm Googling.
Come on, CV. What is it?
No.
Cover something?
Curriculum vitae.
Oh, please.
Yeah, no, curriculum vitae.
This is because he was tweeting and he needed to get it under 140.
Path of life. So it's Latin. It stands for path of life. It's what they call.
Yeah. That's a Benioff thing to do.
That's why I didn't know it. It's freaking Latin.
Yeah.
All right.
Come on, Mark.
Come on. Say resume.
Come on.
Just say resume.
Just do it.
Why not say resume?
I don't know. He was limited to 140 characters.
That's
that
true.
Might be why.
Yeah, maybe that's right. And he put in a link. So kind of interesting. I mean,
yeah. Why wouldn't he? Number one, it's a very fun little publicity stunt that he's often doing.
One tweet gets you coverage in a Wall Street Journal.
He does this all the time.
So not only here's what you get out there when you do this. You get out. Oh, look, Yammer. I'm now publicizing that Microsoft is firing people.
Right.
Bad.
Microsoft firing.
Microsoft bad. Acquisition of
acquire
Yammer,
and then fire bad.
I'm saying we're still here and we're doing great and doing well. Salesforce good. So yeah, he does both, and he probably wants to hire them. I mean, Yammer was a longer product and had more feature set than Chatter ever did, and Chatter, while it has
people
a built-in,
still are using Yammer all the time.
Right.
I was at a client last week and
they were yammering it.
And it was like, why are you not using Chatter? Well, everyone doesn't have Salesforce. So I was like, well, by the end of this project, everyone's gonna have Salesforce. Well, people like Yammer. I'm like, yeah, but we're rationalizing.
Yeah.
Just getting them
off.
You
actually
Yammer.
did a blog post 2 years ago called the Yammer versus.
I think I did 2 of
Chatter,
them.
and you did a revisit last year.
Yeah.
I think you should revisit it again.
It takes a toll because I don't know Yammer anymore at all. I haven't used it in a long, long time. Maybe this client will let me just play around with their Yammer.
Yammer showdown?
Yeah. Well, let me just give me an account. Let me play around with it.
Right. So anyway, interesting. Chatter is certainly, as we've seen with Chatter Tasks, which came out in spring 13. I think we talked about that in the last podcast.
Yeah.
And I've made this prediction before, and as you've learned, as you've gone to say, I've learned to be right, so my predictions sometimes come true. I have a feeling, with seeing things like Chatter Tasks, seeing things like Chatter Approvals, that the rest of where the UI for Salesforce has always been going is into Chatter. Yeah. You're going to do more and more in Chatter.
It's like case feed.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting. Now, I'm not saying that's the right thing. It might be right. As someone who uses Chatter a lot and in different orgs, there are some things about it that I really love, and there are some things about it that I like. Using the Chatter desktop for this one org that I'm trying to stay on top of, I find it just confusing and hard to use. And I'm like, what am I doing in here? But anyway, so Benioff invites people. That's cool. I think it's a great picture of him. It's like this. I guess it's like some conference, but he's like smiling. He's like got this big head smile on. And speaking of that, so here's my question to you. What does Salesforce, Apple, and StarTrek have in common?
I have no idea.
So I
have no idea where StarTrek comes into play in this.
Oh, okay. So
I get the Salesforce Apple connection. I have no idea.
This is very so. This is an article, and this is on Upstart Business Journal. It's also been all over the place. So it's really based on Benioff. Before Steve Jobs died, Benioff gave him the trademark to App Store, right? Because Benioff controlled it. So Salesforce
with the App Exchange.
The apps, yeah. So when he had the App Exchange, he probably got App Exchange, App Store, App Market, App Bazaar,
and they used to call it like the iTunes of applications.
Right.
They even used to say that. I don't know if they did it like in their official marketing, but the salespeople.
No, they call it the App Store of
No, they would call it
applications.
they would call it the iTunes of applications.
Oh, the iTunes, really?
Really?
Okay. So Steve Jobs handed off Mark Benioff handed to Steve Jobs before he died the App Store name and trademark, which is interesting. So I guess it was used for talking about the App Store. Now, this is the first time it's being used because there's a domain, and they're using it for pointing to a App Store app, the new Star Trek movie. So appstore.com/StarTrek app
Right.
points to the App Store app.
So it'll open the App Store.
So instead of going to like movie.com/Star Trek, which gets you the movie site page, this goes to the app. Because a lot of these movies now, movies and TV shows, I mean, Walking Dead, which just started up last week. Don't tell me.
AMC Story Sync.
Well, stories, they have full-on games. They have a lot of apps they put around, and this is a big thing. Like now, instead of, it used to be you'd do a Happy Meal, right? You'd have Star Trek, and then you have your Star Trek Happy Meal. And if you landed the contract with McDonald's to have your toys in Happy Meal, you were thing. But now it's like they build apps around, so they find developers who have apps that kind of are already working, and they reskin them like they did with Temple Run. They made the Brave Run out of Temple Run. Like they do this a lot.
Licensing.
Yeah, it's great, but they're turning them into apps. So anyway, that's what Steve Jobs, Mark Benioff, and Star Trek have in common.
So appstore.com/
and the
something
reason and the
vanity
reason and the reason this became a big deal.
And Google Plus still can't do this, can they?
And the reason this became what do you mean Google Plus can't do this?
Like I still can't have a vanity Google Plus URL.
Yeah, they still.
But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, here's this App Store.
Well, it's an App Store
/vanity.
Vanity URL for applications
Right.
in the because when you try to find an app in the iTunes App Store, it's at itunes.apple.com/webobjects.
We put the links in the in the show notes.
Well, that's for the podcast.
Right, for the podcast.
So maybe we could get appstore.com/CloudFocus Weekly.
Yeah, we don't have an app.
Right. So I don't know if it works for everything in iTunes or not. Anyway, kind of cool.
Well, this isn't even in iTunes. It's in App Store.
Well, but remember, it's all the same place.
I don't think they are anymore.
Yeah, I think they are.
Well, I don't go to the App Store.
This thing is trying to pop up
I don't go to
iTunes.
No, it pops open the App Store.
No, it tries to pop open my iTunes when I do this.
Really? It doesn't pop open the App Store?
No, it pop opens iTunes because that's where the app lives. It's not a Mac app. It's a iOS device app. Anywho.
They need to figure that out, I think, a little better.
I was going to say the reason this has come up and why this is big news is because this was at the Super Bowl. There's a Super Bowl ad for Star Trek, and at the end of it was appstore.com/StarTrek app.
Didn't even catch it. Sorry.
So, well, then you're not watching your
Missed
ads.
it.
Yeah.
Missed it.
Speaking of other things you've missed.
Yeah, what else have I missed?
Let's get your CloudFocus app pick of the week.
All right. Let me tell you a little
story. I'm going to say this
story.
is the second best podcast in a row because last week you were like on death's door, and this week you're kind of like whatever. So I'm sorry, listeners, just saying.
Why?
Get them back.
I'm a little blah.
Yeah, you're a little blah.
Well, you gave me some amazing news right before we went on the air, so thanks for that.
Was it about you being my Valentine?
It was worse than that.
All right.
Imagine that. Worse than that. So here's my pick. It's an interesting one. We talk a lot about the awesomeness that is streaming. Yeah? You and I? Streaming content?
Yes.
Video?
Yes.
Music even?
Yes.
We've picked many a hardware, many a software.
I think you've picked every
many
station
a
channel
device,
you've picked
all
AD,
sorts of fun
History,
stuff.
Showtime, HBO.
We're big proponents of
Netflix.
not owning DVDs.
So true.
Not, just going to Netflix, going to the iTunes,
Hulu.
Go to Hulu, go to HBO Go, what have you, right? So the other day, the little lady and I were sitting there. It's snowing here in New York in the Northeast. Lots of snow on the ground.
That's correct.
And she had just finished reading The Hunger Games, the book.
Yes.
She's like, I want to watch the movie.
Which one? All three or just one?
She's finished the first two, but she had just finished the first one.
Okay.
So she read the second one in 2 days or whatever.
Yes.
But she read the first one, and she's like, I want to see the movie now.
Right.
I'm like, great, let's watch it. pop open the Apple TV. I'm like, let's see if it's on Netflix first, which I know it's not going to be. So I go to Netflix. It's not there.
I'm surprised you didn't use one of our apps that we've talked about on the podcast before.
I did not.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Did you use that? Now you were like, oh, I should use that. I could have found out where it was.
Nope.
Fan Haven. Very good. Fan Hatton.
Doesn't matter.
All right.
Go to iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
Go to movies. Pop it in. Not for rent. Can't rent it. Have to buy it for $18.
You know why?
Because it's within a month of its release or whatever that is.
Nope.
Why?
It's moved over to going on to premium channels, premium cable channels, and so now they pull it off of rent until it's out of there. So it goes through the cycle.
Looked for it everywhere.
Yep.
Couldn't find it.
It's because it's on
So you know what I did? Here's my pick of the week.
Yeah?
I walked across the street to the
No,
Dwayne Reed,
Redbox.
and I went to the Blockbuster box and rented the DVD for $1. $1. Guess what, folks? That's still awesome. Walking across the street.
You are not picking.
I am picking the Blockbuster box.
Not Redbox, the other one.
The Blockbuster
version,
one.
right?
That's
Company
what I'm
that's
picking.
going out of business.
They should save their ass with this thing.
Explicit
because
podcast.
Explicit.
Maybe not.
That word's not so bad.
What he meant was assets.
Assets. Save their assets with this
Now you're
thing.
turning purple. It's awesome.
Because such a bad day. I'm having such a nightmare day, and Valentine's Day is still. The night is still to come. The
little lady is going to appreciate
little
that
lady never
you-
listens.
That you literally just compared your nightmare day with then having to spend time with your little lady in the night. So the nightmare will end because you're going to go spend time with her. Okay, that's
so
awesome.
bad. Now I'm sweating.
So sad.
So yeah, for $1, and I felt like the old man. Like I was standing there, I'm like, because she's like checking out, buying whatever she's buying, and I'm at the thing. I'm like, oh, how's this thing work? Like I'm like saying it out loud, like the old guy, like 80-year-old guy. I'm like yelling at her. I'm like, oh, you just search for it. So I'm like searching on the touchscreen Hungry. I'm like, oh, they have it. Do we have a Blu-ray player? Like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Do we have Blu-ray or what? She's like, no, we don't have a Blu-ray. We have DVD. She's like, oh, DVD. I'm like, it's only $1. She's like, all right, old man, just press the button and buy it. So for $1, I rented the movie. That's my pick. Seriously, I'm dead serious.
No,
I still think that's awesome.
I've never done it. We
I could not get it anywhere except across the street for $1.
because it's there. But it was DVD, which is
Who
like,
cares?
Oh,
It
I
was
care.
perfectly fine.
Oh no, quality is boosh.
Quality was just fine.
No,
It was fine.
No,
It was fine.
it was fine.
That's my pick. Blockbuster box thing.
So I will tell you, I'm not making this my pick, but similar story. For the last 3 nights, the wife and I don't call her a little lady, the wife because she's the same size as I am. The wife and I have been watching Downton Abbey, the new season, and we, based on the different types of shows, we decide whether we're going to watch, whether we're going to TiVo it, right, and then watch it in a series, like we're doing with Walking Dead. We're TiVoing it, right? We're going to TiVo it, and then we'll watch the 7 shows. We'll leave it on TiVo until it's done, then we'll watch it all together. But some shows are so good, and or I might want to come back to it, that I'm going to go to the iTunes and just purchase it. So for the last 3 nights...
like Gold Rush.
That's not that good, but it was good. That one I like it because you get, for the money, and again, it was $19 for 9 episodes. There is about, we did the math, it was like 11 hours worth of content for $20. So I was like, that's not bad, and I get to watch it now, and if I ever want to go back and rewatch it, I can. You get some extra special, here's the making of, fine. You get the device independence. I can go watch it on my Apple TV, I can watch it on my iPad, I can watch it on my computer, I can watch it wherever I want. So for the last 3 nights, we've been watching that, and as you were saying that, I was like, we haven't watched real TV. Like, for the last 3 nights, we watch Hulu Plus, and we watch Apple TV streaming. It's like, my dependence, especially now that the sport that I follow is over, on real TV goes, when that sport is over, it goes from like a lot to almost none, where I don't even want to watch real live TV. So cool pick. There's an app for it, by the way. You can rent it in advance. You can find out where the movie is you want. So you might want to check that out. If you're
I might want to check that out. I'm not going to get into it because I'd prefer to just sit there and click a couple buttons.
I'd leave your house.
Yeah, and it was snow on the ground, but it was still only $1, and it was convenience right across the street.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
I was going to add to this. While I did this whole thing. HBO Go just upgraded their application, so now it can use AirPlay, which is nice.
Yes.
So it hasn't been able to do that.
Yes. So you made HBO Go a pick a while ago.
HBO
So now
Go
the new version can
the
do.
new version can now AirPlay to an Apple TV. Now I
very
have a Roku box just for HBO Go.
Yes.
Now the Roku box might just sit there.
And
Although I'll still use it because it's connected right to the TV already. I won't have to AirPlay
But
something.
he promised when they released this, they promised that it would go on the Apple TV, that they would put an app on the.
It just should be there.
There's
no reason why you should have an app that streams content that you can then AirPlay to an Apple TV. Why not just have the app on the Apple TV?
There's no reason.
Silly.
They should make a developer channel, figure it out. A&E, History, all these places that are just releasing these apps. You can
just
do all
put
this
it
stuff.
on there.
PBS, just put them on there.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to pick. I'm basically doing a kind of a repick, but because I think maybe I picked this at some point.
Repick?
Yeah, kind of, but not really. Yeah, but it's not. But it is. And it has a Salesforce.
But is it?
But it's not. Maybe. So this came out. I think we just talked about it in an episode. I never picked it, but I've been really enjoying it. So something that Apple released, I don't know, a year or two ago was iTunes U. And what is iTunes U? Well, iTunes U is all these courses and materials that are built in iTunes. So you can download, materials, videos, sound, interviews from all these great universities and basically take these courses. So I'm a big podcast listener, as you know, and I look for certain types of people. So there's certain things I like to. So I've been big into Seth Godin. Don't know how to pronounce his name. Godin. So big.
He doesn't say his own name.
I don't know.
At any point during this whole podcast series?
Maybe I don't pay attention. Okay. So what's nice is, so I listened to one of his books the other day, but I was like, I want more content. I want to get more content. I didn't want to go buy like 2 more of his audiobooks. So I went on to iTunes U and I searched for Seth Godin. And it came back and it found all these series, and it found where he had interviews, and they're basically in the iTunes, and they're free. And so I'm like, great, I get to have more things to listen to. So there's a couple interviews with him, and then one was this part called the Drucker series, and it's interviews with all these people. Like it's interviews with all these sort of up and coming people. One of them, and the other one that spiked. I was looking down the list, and they're video interviews, about an hour each. Gary Vaynerchuk was one of them. So it caught my attention. So I watched the Seth Godin one, which is great. It's a great interview. There's another one with Seth Godin. And then I'm like, but let's look for other people. So I searched for Mark Benioff. And I found his commencement speech from 5 years ago when for Haas University or something in California. He did a 20-minute commencement speech, which was actually really interesting. I mean, it's a story that
Sure.
but it was the video of it, and so I was watching that at the gym the other day. So it is.
So where do I get these things?
So it's all in iTunes U.
Oh, it's in the iTunes U.
So if you go into iTunes U, it has its own catalog, it has its own library, and actually if you search iTunes U material shows up. So it shows up, and that's how I maybe I got into it, is I searched for Seth Godin, and then iTunes U stuff comes up, and I clicked on it, and then it brought me over to. But you can but they're not movies, but videos, course materials, and so I was interested in something else the other day. I was interested in business accounting. So I found a course on business accounting, and I was starting to watch this course with a guy. Basically, it's a course. You're just sitting there watching the video, and he shows the slides and whatever. Fascinating. And again, so I'm kind of picking iTunes U, but I'm also picking this thing called the Drucker series. I'm going to link to the Drucker series because it has
so I can
all these great interviews with some really, Chopra, I don't know his name. What's his name? Deepak. He's one of the people that interviewed.
Deepak Chopra.
And just cool, interesting people. It's what free, awesome content. And so anyway, go check it out. I will link to the actual series in there. All right. Well, that wraps up our show. We made it in.
I'm giving you the wrap-up sign.
Yeah, you were. Very good. Remember to go to blog.arkusinc.com to find all the podcasts, all of the blog posts that we do. Remember to go to facebook.com/arkusinc. We're almost up to 200 likes on the big Facebook.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Come on, people.
Yeah.
We know more than 200 people listen to this show.
That's right.
So
at least
go out
203.
there and like it.
Because we listen to it. I don't even know if I listen to it.
I listen to it.
I say it. Do you listen to it?
I listen to it once every 3 or 4 episodes.
Just hear.
I need to hear how it sounds.
Oh, okay.
Just to make sure it sounds right.
That's good.
I did listen to last week's, and I did notice I was in a bad mood or something.
You
I was
were
tired.
funk.
Where was I? What happened?
You'd been in a client all day or something.
Oh, I must have been an all-day thing.
Yes, that's what I just said.
Yeah.
You were
I was
funk.
dead.
We need to do like.
It sounded like literally.
I know.
Like asleep.
And I commented on it during the show. I was
You're
like,
like, you sound asleep. I'm like, I don't even know, man.
It's okay. We're just phasing you out anyway. I'm going to replace you with this bottle of water. What do you think about that bottle of water?
Bottle of water is dangerous. It might get wet, like all over the electrical equipment.
Is it just weird that Nestle makes water?
No, it's probably. It's the same exact bottle as all the other ones, like Poland Spring or whatever. It's all from the same place. They just put a different name on it.
So follow Justin. Where's your Twitter account? Where are you at?
Just Edelstein.
I'm at Jason M. Atwood. We're at Arkus Inc. Follow us on those places. Also, remember, we still have in the Dreamforce portal. There's open there. We're also on Google Plus if you can find us.
We're literally everywhere.
And LinkedIn, which is becoming better and better at like having companies you can follow. You can follow the company of Arkus, but we do the same sort of thing. We post those things. So we're on LinkedIn as well. All right. Until next week, we'll be back with another episode and more news. I have a couple cool concepts for some upcoming podcasts that we could do. So I'll say those offline. Maybe we'll incorporate them into our thing. But until then, as always, enjoy those cloudy days.